I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, April the 23rd, 2014. Rival Palestinian factions Fatah and Hamas have announced that they have decided to form a national unity government within the next 5 weeks. The new government would reportedly be led by either Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas or former Hamas leader Nasser al-Sher. Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh told reporters today that new elections would be held within 6 months. The Palestinians have been divided since 2007 when Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip. The agreement between the factions was reportedly reached after leaders of Fatah and Hamas met and held talks in Gaza City that began last night. And last night, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responded to reports of the likely reconciliation between the rival groups before the announcement today. Netanyahu said at that point that Palestinian Authority President Abbas must now make a choice. Netanyahu made the comments to visiting Austrian Foreign Minister Sebastian Kurz.
He has to choose. Does he want peace with Hamas or peace with Israel? You can have one, but not the other. I hope he chooses peace. So far, he hasn't done so.
Hamas is recognized as a terror organization by Israel as well as by the United States. The Times of Israel reports that Israeli Environmental Protection Minister Amir Peretz said today that there had been some progress made in a meeting held last night between Israeli and Palestinian negotiators. Peretz is a member of the Hatnuah party, which is led by Israeli lead negotiator, Justice Minister Tzipi Livni. Peretz told Israel Radio today that the talks were a lot better than earlier sessions and that there was still, quote, a very serious effort by Livni to reach an agreement between Israel and the Palestinians to extend the peace talks beyond the upcoming April 29th deadline. Reuters reports, citing security sources, that Israel's Air Force struck a terror cell that was about to launch rockets into Israel. The terror cell was reportedly identified by Israeli security agency the Shin Bet as an imminent threat to Israeli security. There were Palestinian media reports that between 3 and 7 people were injured in the airstrike today. The Times of Israel reports that the IDF said in a statement the strike was a, quote, joint anti-terror operation with the Shin Bet, and that a hit was not identified. Palestinian media also said that the airstrike missed its target, which was apparently an Islamic Jihad operative. 3 Jewish teenage girls were arrested by Israel police today, suspected of damaging Muslim graves in the Old City of Jerusalem. The girls, who are minors, reportedly etched the words "price tag" with a stone on the graves, located in a cemetery in the Old City near the Golden Gate. They are due to appear in the Jerusalem's magistrate court today. Price tag attacks refer to protest acts against the Israeli government's policies towards the settlements or in response to Palestinian terror. They are thought to be usually the work of Jewish right-wing extremists. Britain's Football Association issued a fine against one of its players for posting support for the controversial canal gesture on social media. The gesture alludes to the Nazi salute and is thought to be anti-Semitic. The player Jan Karski was fined over $25,000 for posting his support for the gesture and for fellow British team player Nicholas Anelka, who was banned from several games for making the canal gesture during a game. He was later fired by his team. Karski, who is originally from the Ivory Coast, posted a picture on Twitter of Anelka performing the canal alongside the word legend. He also referred to Anelka as a role model for France's urban youth. The Football Association fined Karski yesterday following an independent regulatory commission hearing where Karski admitted a breach of the soccer league's rule under which players are prohibited from making comments that are, quote, abusive and or indecent and or insulting or improper. A study released today by the Foundation for the Benefit of the Holocaust Victims in Israel shows that poverty among Holocaust survivors has grown over the past year. According to the study, more than a quarter of survivors living in Israel are below the poverty line, with 60% saying they experience hardship. Members of Israel's Knesset Health and Welfare Committee met last year to try and improve conditions for survivors. There are currently 193,000 Holocaust survivors living in Israel. The survey was conducted over the phone in the second half of last month among 400 Holocaust survivors in Israel, with a 4.9% margin of error. A chisel that may have been used by the builders of the Second Temple was uncovered at a dig near the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Ynet reports that the Israeli Antiquities Authority found the iron chisel during the archaeological dig at the bottom of the Temple Mount near the Western Wall. Archaeologist Eli Shukrun, who heads the project, said he had no doubt that the tool belonged to the time period that the wall was built. Shukrun said, for the first time after 2,000 years, we are in the possession of a work tool used by the builders who built the Kotel, the Western Wall. The Antiquities Authority said the chisel had been found about a year ago, but they had been waiting for final research findings before making an official announcement. The same archaeological team also found cooking utensils, coins, and ceramic items from the same era. Polish resistance fighter and World War II hero Jan Karski is being remembered in the centennial anniversary of his birth. Karski, who was Catholic, risked his life to bring first-hand reports of the Holocaust to the Allies. Karski, who died in 2000, would have been 100 this year, and he is being celebrated at a number of special events. Tomorrow, Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. will pay tribute to Karski, who was a professor at the school for 4 decades. Previous honors for Karski include in 1982 when he was recognized by Israel's Living Memorial to the Holocaust, Yad Vashem, as righteous among the nations. The American Jewish Committee bestowed their highest honor upon Karski in 1983, and he received honorary citizenship from Israel in 1984. And following efforts on his behalf, Karski was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012 by President Obama. And in our programming tonight, April the 23rd on Shalom TV, a tribute to Karski will air at 7 o'clock from the Consulate General of Poland in New York City. The tribute includes remarks from Poland's Consul General Ewa Juńczyk-Jomejka, former president of Georgetown University Leo Donovan, president of the Jan Karski Educational Foundation Wanda Urbanska, and national director of the Anti-Defamation League Abe Foxman. That's coming up tonight at 7. Then at 8 o'clock, Shalom Hartman Institute President North America Yehuda Kurtzer presents a program called Auschwitz or Sinai, Metaphor and the Meaning of Modern Israel. That is from the recent Limud conference. Kurtzer then shares his Jewish philosophies with Mark Golub at 9 o'clock on L'chaim. That's all coming up here tonight on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, April the 23rd, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader.